ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to HIMediaTV. I'm your host, Evan from HIMediaTV, and welcome back to another chapter of my little black book, the daily show where I talk into a microphone for an indeterminate amount of time, and you listen for some reason. Now, today, ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk about the job market. You know it's shit, I know it's shit, but I am particularly irritated today. And I am particularly irritated specifically because I drove an hour and a half south specifically so I could go to a job fair. This job fair, I was recommended to go to at my state's Department of Labor. Yay! Because your boy needs, a better job. I love my coworkers at Dollar General, but your boy needs to make a livable wage. That being said, I go to this job fair, drive an hour and a half down to it, and I sign in. It's a Department of Labor event. Great. First thing I notice, half of the businesses that were advertised to be there didn't show up. So that's the first fucking thing. The second thing is there were there were technically four, but there are three macro level types of businesses. There were businesses that had restrictions on who could apply. Not work-related restrictions, but either certification or life-related restrictions. I.e., in the case of, say, a couple nonprofits, I had to be a parent with a special needs child for some fucking reason. Or I need to have 2 to 3 to 4 separate certifications that each take 6 months apiece to get. Yay. I wrote those off. Those were the least offensive to me, if I'm being honest. The more offensive ones were, in order of the slightly more offensive, was people who were just pointing me to a QR code. They weren't even conducting interviews. They weren't even trying to schedule interviews. They were just pointing at a QR code and saying, look at the available jobs we have online and apply. To which I ask, what is the point of even being here? And lastly, the greatest offenders, sales jobs. People whose your ability to keep your job and get paid is either entirely or partially dependent on your ability to make sales. Now, make no mistake, I am not the worst salesman on the planet. I can be fairly persuasive and charismatic. The problem is, we are on year 5 of a recession. People have long since been tightening their belts, and now, the higher up the socioeconomic ladder you go, it is getting even worse. So no, I don't think geriatric fucks are going to be wanting to put solar panels on their house. Because even if they could afford it, half of the people over 60 are goddamn Nazis. So that leaves the mysterious fourth. Out of probably 20 to 30 separate businesses that I interacted with, only 3 had actual positions that they were interviewing for, and they didn't even interview for them. They handed me a business card and say, send me your resume. Now, maybe they would have interviewed me if I had physical resumes with me, which probably would have been a benefit. But even so, half of them even said, yeah, the hiring manager isn't going to be here today. To which again I say, what's the fucking point? I am tired, ladies and gentlemen. I do not understand why we were promised so much. I have given up on owning a home, retiring, even having a family. Like even if I find a life partner that I'm going to spend the rest of my life with, I still don't feel okay having kids. At the time of recording, I got a vasectomy in a week and a half. My bar at this point is I just want to make enough money to pay my bills plus like $100. Not even savings. Not even savings. I just want $100 extra, so maybe one time a month I can afford a Taco Bell order. My parents are in the process of trying to build a house. My grandparents own a home that would go for millions of dollars today, that they bought for $14 in a pocket full of raspberries. Meanwhile, and it seems like everybody else my age, including probably you listening to this, are doing everything in our power just to tread fucking water. Suffering. Suffering. Continuously suffering. And we work our asses off. I go home at the end of my work week when I get full hours for the week. If I'm able to get full hours for a week. In unbelievable pain and soreness.
There's a 5-minute slowdown caused by construction on Taconic State Parkway in 3 miles. You're still on the fastest route.
By the way, as you could probably tell, I don't know if you could hear it or not, I'm now driving an hour and a half back. Because now I have to go on my computer and send 3 fuckers my resume instead of, just sitting down for an interview, showing them my resume on my phone and getting a call back later maybe. Because at a fucking job fair, nobody decided to bring a hiring manager. I am living in actual hell. Shit like this makes me wonder of what even is the fucking point? We are living in a time and we are living in a period where we, as the younger generation, are doing worse than the generation before us, who is doing worse than the generation before us. The millennials got economically fucked. They were told they were going to get all of these things and they were lied to. And you know what? As an elder Gen Z, the same thing happened to us, but we were already sort of nihilistic to a level of, fuck it, why not? We have accepted, as Gen Z, that the world is going to fuck us. And there's nothing we can do about it.
There's construction ahead.
And now environment where now Gen Alpha, the youngest among us, sits like fucking invalids, rotted by AI and lack of and gaps in schooling, completely apathetic and careless to the rest of the world because the nihilism for them has become so potent that they are just existing day to day. Many of them not even having to pay their own bills yet, and they are already not even considering what life is going to be like a month from now, a week from now, 2 weeks from now. They're apathetic to the future. They're apathetic to hope. And you know what? I cannot fucking blame them. Because if I grew up in a world, in an environment that has shown for the previous 2 generations that the world and the behavior of our elders don't give a fuck about us or our future, which has completely broken down the social contract of the human species, where you are supposed to make life in the world marginally better, at least attempt to make life marginally better for your children than it was for you. We live in hell. The job market is shit. There's nothing I can do about it, and all I can do is pop an extra 50 milligrams of Zoloft on top of my already 100 and keep it fucking pushing. Sitting here in bumper-to-bumper traffic at 1 on a Tuesday. I know people are unemployed, but are all these motherfuckers unemployed? Why the fuck am I in bumper-to-bumper traffic in bumblefuck, podunk-ass New York? Coming back from a job fair where nobody was offering, like, did they not fucking hire anybody? Was it all just a fucking game? Showmanship? Pretending that they're trying to hire people, that they're desperate for people? But then not doing the basic, most standard, expected thing at a job fair, which is fucking interviewing people on the spot, leaving a fucking number, and then getting a call back to see if they want your ass or not. I hate this economy. And I hate this fucking country. Because what, pray tell, is the fucking point? I live as I live and breathe. Do not know what is going to make this better. All I know is that it is just going to get worse before it does. It is going to get worse before it gets better. Because the fucking stock market is so overinflated. The quote-unquote Magnificent Seven, God forbid they lose a few percent of their, stock price, and that could crash the fucking economy. We have an AI bubble that is estimated to be 4 times larger than the subprime loan mortgage crisis, and 17 times larger than the .com bubble. Every other business, every other stock is on a downturn. We are in a recession for all fucking intents and purposes. And we're in hell. And the worst fucking part of it is there is not a fucking thing any of us can do outside of going to work, voting, and possibly getting the chance to make some politicians and billionaires' heads roll in Roblox. I apologize for the shouty, incendiary nature of this episode of Little Black Book. But I am frustrated, and this chapter is closed. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Little Black Book. If you enjoyed this episode, please go check out some of our other episodes. And of not just this podcast, but other podcasts as well. We have tons of them that you might enjoy at HIMedia.gg/pods or wherever you get your pods. And if and only if you have the financial wherewithal to do so, please consider subscribing on our Ko-Fi at HIMedia.gg/tip. Doing so gets you a bunch of awesome and exclusive perks in our Discord community, of which you should absolutely join at the link down below. Thank you so much for listening to HIMediaTV. I have been your host, Evan from HIMediaTV, and I hope you have a better fucking day than I've had. Toodaloo.